Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you up to date on the Supreme Court, Ridgecrest Planning Commission actions, news from Assemblywoman Shannon Grove, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
I'm Tom Whitnick, and here's news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Here's some news from the Supreme Court that can affect California. The U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case that could determine whether non-citizens should be tallied as political districts are being drawn. The court's decision could potentially strip political power and congressional representation from California, Texas, Florida, and other states with large undocumented populations. Election law analysts were surprised by the court's move. The Los Angeles Times reported, despite decades of decisions on voting rights, the justices have steered clear of clarifying whether election districts should have an equal number of residents or an equal number of eligible voters. Within California, the case could also impact cities and counties with large undocumented populations, reducing their political clout in Sacramento and districts within those localities. The case was brought to the High Court by Edward Blum, a conservative activist who 2 years ago won the Supreme Court ruling that struck down part of the Voting Rights Act. My interest in restoring the original principles of the civil rights movement of the 1960s, Blum said Tuesday. Your race and ethnicity should not be used to help or harm your position in life. In another federal court news, a couple months ago, the federal court ruled to block implementation of President Obama's executive order to not enforce current immigration laws, allowing millions of illegal aliens to register and stay in the U.S. The Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled on Tuesday in favor of the 26 states challenging President Barack Obama's executive action on immigration, potentially paving the way for a Supreme Court decision on the issue. 2 judges on the 3-judge panel ruled that the executive action, which would grant an estimated 4.7 million undocumented immigrants relief from deportation, should remain on hold while the government appeal is blocking. The immigration order was first put on hold by Texas Judge Andrew Hannon in February after the states, all led by Republican governors, alleged that taking in immigrants would be overly burdensome. The president's attempt to bypass the will of the American people was successfully checked again today, Texas Governor Greg Abbott said in a news release. The case has become the focal point of Obama's efforts to change U.S. immigration policy. Seeing no progress on legislative reform in Congress, Obama announced in November he would take executive action to help immigrants. He has since faced criticism from Republicans who say the program grants amnesty to lawbreakers, that the order exceeds the president's executive order authority. The White House said the 2 judges who ruled against the administration on Tuesday chose to misinterpret the facts and the law. The president's actions are squarely within the bounds of his authority, and they are the right thing to do for the country. White House spokeswoman Brianne Hoffman said, "The Justice Department is evaluating the ruling and considering next steps," a U.S. official said on condition of anonymity. The Fifth Circuit will rule again in the coming months on whether the Obama administration can appeal and block the executive order. That decision may be made by a new panel of judges who will take into account more evidence. If it is denied on appeal, the Obama administration may ask the Supreme Court to consider the case, potentially delaying the launch of the immigration programs until June 2016. That could bring the issue up at a politically important time, said Marshall Fitz, Vice President of Immigration Policy at a left-leaning Washington think tank Center for American Progress. If the programs go into effect next June, there will be real electoral consequences, Fitz said. There is a clear contrast between Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton and any Republican in the current field. Clinton has said she would like to see Obama's action expanded to shield more immigrants from deportation. Most watchers of this case have always thought the Supreme Court would finally have to decide whether the president has overstepped his authority. In Ridgecrest Planning Commission news, yesterday evening they held their regular meeting at City Hall. They handled these agenda items. During the public hearing segment, they discussed code enforcement abasement actions for the following properties. They had a pre-abatement public hearing to abate property at 1135 North Indian Street. This one was continued from their last meeting. Then they held another public hearing for these locations. Pre-abatement public hearings to abate property at 235 West Aline Street and property at 509 West Inyakern Road. All three code enforcement abatements were approved by the Commission. The abatement allows the property owners until June 8th to comply, or the city will pay for the abatements and then either bill the owners for the costs or put a tax lien on the property. Under the discussion and other action items, the Commission reviewed the Southern California Edison Down Street Substation Landscape Plan. This was a request by SCE to approve the plan. This plan was an agenda item before, as SCE asked to change the plan. The Commission approved the new plan. Now here's a recap of Memorial Day ceremony reported by KZGN-TV field reporter Tanya Pyle. Flags waved across Desert Memorial Cemetery where many gathered to honor American Memorial Day 2015. Proceedings began with presenting the Prisoner of War and Missing in Action flag. Then, standing with heads bowed, Chaplain Dennis Hendon acknowledged, "All victories are granted by the Lord," and he asked for the Lord's guidance. Those present continued standing as the Marine Honor Guard advanced the colors and our national anthem sounded. Commander Matt Jackson, U.S. Navy Executive Officer at NAS, addressed the multiple generations who came. Then 16 organizations were escorted by Boy Scouts, one by one, in a wreath-laying ceremony. They honored and remembered our countrymen, families, and friends who gave their lives for the ideals that unite us as Americans. In conclusion, Boy Scout Alan Michael Sword sounded taps. Following the ceremony, KZGN had the opportunity to glean from a few who shared their experiences. Former Navy Chief Herb Schrader's 90-something-year-old eyes lit up and the stories rolled quickly off his tongue as he relays World War II people, places, and events. Bert Howman, with his wife Marguerite at his side, said he was drafted into the Korean conflict. He contrasted a declared war from a United Nations-sanctioned police action. But Howman remembers his comrades, including those who didn't survive the Korean conflict. Howman brought attention to the 35,000 who still serve and protect the borders between North and South Korea in the fight for freedom. Marlene Tracy said the ceremony was nice and shared how her husband ultimately succumbed to the effects of Agent Orange decades following his service in Vietnam. The daughter of a Navy chief, Martha Jerokue, said, "One thing about military families is they learn to not be selfish." She recalled her family's many relocations from Panama to Virginia and right on to California. She recalled her father's return from service and said, "My father was the kind of man the younger men looked up to and sought for advice." Finally, many gathered together and enjoyed an all-American style buffet provided at the American Legion, all to honor America. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Hi everyone, I'm Julian Sen from KZGN-TV and I'm here with Barry at Ridgecrest Animal Shelter. And this is Bella. So can you tell me about Bella, what her breed is and how old she is and everything?
Bella is a Dachshund mix and she's between 1 year and 2 years old. She's very sweet and lovable. She's good with kids. We don't know if she's housebroken or not because she came in as a stray. She had a collar and tag on, but unfortunately her tag information was scratched off, so we could not see who the original owner was for her so that we can contact them. But Bella is a wonderful companion and good house dog.
So if this is your dog, come on down and come get it. If not, she's a wonderful dog and come on and get her. So it is Adopt a Dog month still, right?
Correct. On all dogs are $45 till the end of May, and that covers their surgery, shots, license, microchip, health exam, and come give a wonderful animal a new chance on life.
All right, so can you give them the location and hours and your phone number?
Sure. We're located at 411 County Line Road, and we are open Tuesday through Friday 11 to 5 and Saturday 10 to 4. And you can also see our animals on our Facebook page, Ridgecrest Animal Shelter, and we list all of our pictured animals there. So if you want to just scroll through and take a look and see what we have. Otherwise, just come down to the shelter and take a look at all the wonderful animals we have, dogs and cats.
All right, thank you, Mary.
Thank you,
Bella. I'm Julian Sen from KZGN-TV.
In news from Assemblywoman Shannon Grove, we have previously reported on her effort to shut down the remaining developmental centers and to move funding for these people to smaller community-based centers. This is a bipartisan effort to stop these abusive centers. Here's a new report. The Orange County Coroner's Office and the Costa Mesa Police Department are investigating the suspicious death of a 50-year-old disabled Fairview Developmental Center resident who died from unexplained injuries while living at the center. According to state records, since 2002, 8 people suffering with schizophrenia, severe intellectual disabilities, and other debilitating conditions died at this Orange County facility as the result of neglect or lack of supervision. In response to these dangerous conditions, Assemblywoman Shannon Grove introduced legislation to close down this center. The hearing date is set for June 9th. According to an Orange County coroner's report, Kenneth Kofelt was injured at Fairview Developmental Center on February 13, 2015, and transported to the Newport Subacute Healthcare Center, where he died 2 weeks later on March 1st. The cause of death is still pending after almost 3 months of investigation. Grove contacted the Department of Developmental Service, which oversees the state facility, and asked for the records related to Kofelt's death. The agency denied the request, claiming the records are confidential. The state agency did this despite the fact that the California Supreme Court only 3 months ago forced the agency to turn over records detailing systemic abuse within the state-run developmental centers after the Center for Investigative Reporting sued for their release. Assemblywoman Grove said, "We need to read the first-hand accounts from the staff people involved. No more hiding, no more secrecy. We cannot let crimes against these vulnerable Americans be covered up anymore by this state agency and its employees who have shown an inability to police themselves." In news from the California Highway Patrol, they conducted a DUI sobriety and driver's license checkpoint last Saturday, May 23rd, in Rosamond on Rosamond Boulevard. The checkpoint was operated from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Approximately 789 vehicles were screened, 8 drivers were given field sobriety tests, several citations were issued, and no vehicles were impounded. The sobriety checkpoint was staffed by California Highway Patrol officers who are trained in the detection of alcohol and/or drug-impaired drivers. Here's a statement from the CHP. "Sadly, too many members of our community are needlessly injured and killed by our roads by impaired drivers. The California Highway Patrol's goal is to ensure the safe passage of each and every motorist by targeting roads where there is a high frequency of impaired motorists. A DUI sobriety and driver's license checkpoint is an effective tool for achieving this goal and is designed to augment existing patrol operations. By publicizing our efforts, we can deter motorists from drinking and driving. Funding for this checkpoint was provided by a grant from the California Office of Traffic Safety through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration." In news from the base, the Public Affairs Office has put out the following announcement. Petroglyph escort training planned for Saturday, June 6th. Naval Air Weapons Station, China Lake, California, will begin a training for new guides to conduct tours of Little Petroglyph Canyon. This National Historic Landmark is located on board the Naval Station lands. Training will take place June 6th at the Matterago Museum starting at 8 a.m. Training covers environmental, security, and administrative issues related to the tours, Little Petroglyph Canyon, and the installation. The training is required to become command-approved Petroglyph tour guide, volunteers who escort hundreds of visitors each year out to this cultural treasure. They are responsible for protecting the site and the secrecy and security of the base while educating personnel on this National Historic Landmark. Command-approved guides can volunteer for the type of tours they are interested in: Matterago Museum tours, private public tours, school tours, and so forth, as long as they volunteer to assist at least 2 tours per year. All tours are required to have 2 command-approved guides. After the in-class training, base personnel will take the class up to Little Petroglyph Canyon, so volunteers are encouraged to dress appropriately with hiking boots or closed shoes with good tread as required for regular tours. Make sure and bring sunscreen, hat, plenty of water, food, and a car in good working condition, and a full tank of gas. To register for the class, call the Matterago Museum at 760-375-6900 or email full legal name, date of birth, citizenship, phone number, and email address to mattmuse9@matarango.org by June 3rd. Class size is limited, so register as early as possible. Now in KZGN's continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's local gas prices for your information. Well, since Monday, prices locally and abroad have not changed much, which is good that they still aren't going up. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $3.59 to $4.29. Lancaster is going from $3.73 to $4.09. The LA Valley area is going $3.69 to $3.97. And in the Bishop area, $3.68 to $3.99. We have 5 stations coming in at the $3.59 figure. The cheapest price in the Lancaster area and all areas we monitor remain more than Ridgecrest. Well, all I can say is we should thank our gas stations for keeping the price down. Tune in with us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally and fill up here to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you're helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Stay with us for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. The National Weather Service is forecasting a risk of severe thunderstorms across parts of the central and southern plains, the Ohio Valley, and the Mid-Atlantic into New England, with damaging winds and large hail, with an isolated risk of tornadoes across parts of the central and southern plains. Temperatures across the region: Massachusetts came in at 79, Carolinas at 82, Florida 82 degrees, Kansas 71, Texas 79, Colorado 62, New Mexico 63, Idaho 58, San Francisco 57, and Los Angeles at 59. For us locally in the IWV, tonight will be mostly clear with a low around 62, west-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Thursday will be sunny with a high near 95, west-southwest wind around 5 miles per hour. Thursday night will be mostly clear with a low around 64, west-southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Friday will be sunny with a high near 98, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Friday night will be mostly clear with a low around 65, west wind 5 miles per hour. And on Saturday, it will be sunny and hot. High will be near 101 degrees, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is a look at your local weather. Now back to Tom and the rest of your KZGN news.
Thanks, Keith. Now let's go to Tom Heck for the sports.
And a very pleasant Wednesday afternoon to everybody. Start the local note. Anthony Barnes, a head track coach at Burroughs High School, sends us this note. Burroughs had 3 discus throwers placed at the CIF finals last weekend. Tyler Moulton, Madison Felix, and Jennifer Kendall all placed at the CIF Division III finals in the discus. Tyler placed 5th with a throw of 157 feet 4 inches, which put him in 8th place and earned him a medal. Madison Felix at 113 feet 4 inches and Jennifer Kendall at 109 7 inches placed 7th and 8th respectively, moving them up 1 spot from the prior meeting. It was a great way to end the season, he commented. Although no one qualified for the CIF Masters meet, they're very proud of these kids for the achievements that they did this season. That from Anthony Barnes, the head track coach at Burroughs High School. Okay, NBA last night. Cleveland wrapped it up. They swept the Hawks. They win last night, 118 to 88. Now, the Hawks were the number 1 team in the East, but in the playoffs right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are flexing their muscles. They've had a lot of injuries. They got Irvin back last night, their point guard. They don't have Kevin Love, but they have LeBron James, and they've got some other guys that can shoot the basketball also. Tonight, over at Golden State, it'll be, which is up in Oakland, it'll be Golden State playing against Houston. They lead that series 3-1. Houston, it's do or die tonight for Houston. If they don't win tonight, it'll be Golden State and Cleveland in the NBA championships. And boy, oh boy, that would be a great series. Stephen Curry against LeBron James, boy, that would be some kind of offensive war. Both those folks almost unstoppable. All right, Dwight Howard will play tonight. Tapes were reviewed. They gave him a flagrant 1 call instead of a flagrant 2. Flagrant 2 means you're out, possibly for a suspension. He was wrapped up with several other Golden State players and pushed off a little bit, looked more like an elbow, but the NBA reviewed it, and he will play tonight. They need him if they have a hope for any chance at all. NHL, the Rangers stay alive. They win last night in Tampa. They beat the Lightning 7-3. That game was 2-1 going into the third period. Now, the significance there is if the Ducks win tonight in Chicago, they'll play against the winner of the Rangers and Lightning series. That series moves back now to New York, Game 6, with the Lightning leading 3-2. Angels last night, they lose in 10 innings, 4-0. The Padres put up 4. Matt Kemp had a double that unloaded the bases. Bases were loaded, 3 RBIs there. Then he was driven in, 4-0 win for the Padres. They play again tonight in Anaheim, both teams with 1 win. The Astros win again. They've got a 5.5 game lead over the Angels. The Pirates win also. They beat the Marlins. The Yankees, Toronto, and Seattle also win. Seattle playing a little bit better right now. The Mets win again. They've off to a very good start. The Reds beat Colorado. They've won 2 in a row. They had lost 9 in a row before that. The hottest team in baseball, the Giants, now 28-20. They win again in Milwaukee. They're a game and a half behind the Dodgers in the West. The Cubs beat the Nationals. They're now 8 games over 500. Detroit beats Oakland. That'll snap their 3-game winning streak. And the Twins, boy, the Twins off to their best start in about 10 years. They're now 9 games over 500. They beat the Red Sox yesterday 2-1. All right, the Dodgers win. They beat Atlanta 8-0 behind Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw's off to a rough start, but after last night, maybe he'll get his bearings back and settle down some. All right, that's your sports for this Wednesday afternoon. Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing us, KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay with us for a neat video showing a very smart dachshund dog entertaining himself.